what are some of the most common misconceptions or wrong assumptions about China that you hear most recently that are circulating in the international community? And what are some ways in which we, as the Chinese community, can do to respond to these misconceptions and wrong assumptions about us and China and how we see the world? Or what are these misconceptions and wrong assumptions from your perspective? Yeah.
There are so many. It's not misconceptions, but actually it's disinformation. Look at, for example, the Belt and Road Initiative. How many countries have really benefited from the Belt and Road Initiative in terms of having infrastructure built? You can't develop without infrastructure. Now, the building of infrastructure through the Belt and Road Initiative is now called a debt trap. It's called economic coercion. As a senior government official in Kenya said to me, the airport is built by China. The highway going from the airport to the hotel is built by China. When the Americans travel there and tell us about debt trap, I tell them, let's have more traps. So I think everything that we see out of, for example, in terms of human rights, in terms of the Uyghurs in Xinjiang, all this talk about slave labor, picking cotton. 90% of the cotton picked are now by machines. There's no physical labor anymore. So these are just things which are just so outrageous that I think sometimes when I'm on TV, approached with questions like this, I get so angry. But I just have to hold back, on TV, right?
Did you walk away?
Can't walk away, but just ignore it. And I think one of the things which we should do more is what we at the center would try to do is to project positive energy, positive side of what has been achieved in terms of China, what China has done for its people and for its neighbors and the Global South and the Belt and Road Initiative, and through trade enriched a lot of friends. The ASEAN countries now, economies are tied very closely to China. And I think increasingly the Middle East as well, MENA in North Africa. But I mean, this is a subject that Einar has a particular expertise in, because he's confronted with this all day long on TV, especially on Indian TV, right?
Last night.
You have to understand that in the US, we spend $90 billion a year on intelligence and misinformation. I mean, this is what we do. Can you imagine $90 billion a year being spent perhaps on education? No, we spend it on disinformation. And the reason why is not because Americans are evil people. It has to do with this sense that we have to be number one. And if we can't compete with you, we're going to break your legs. This is what they call the Tonya Harding defense. All right? She was afraid that her good friend would somehow beat her at the Olympics. So she got her boyfriend and another friend to go over and try to break her legs. All right? This is exactly what the US is doing. But the idea that you can change that, I always say, China has a squeaky toy, right? The West, we have a 1,000,000-watt speaker phone that we can use on a daily basis because we control the international press. $1.5 billion was used by the US government to train journalists how to write negative stories about China over 5 years. $300 million a year just being spent on the free press to teach them, all right, how to be biased against China. Now, it seems unbelievable. Imagine if China was doing that, all right? We in the US would say, see, this is an attack on the freedom of the press, of information. So there's a lot of work to be done. As I said, you like that phrase, there's a lot of information, too much, but not a lot of understanding. That is the role. That's what has to change.